Hello, everyone. I'm so excited to be able to introduce to you a wonderful woman. This episode, I will give you guys a trigger warning. It is about a mother losing a child. So we will be talking about that. There will be talks of violence. So I do want to give you guys a trigger warning. So if that's something that you guys don't want to listen to, we'll catch you guys on another episode, but this episode I think is very important for us because here in San Antonio, I feel like we have been seeing a lot of cases like this. And so I do want to bring light to it. So I want to especially thank you, Stephanie, for taking the time to talk about this. So I do
Mhm.
want to jump into it right away. I do want to talk about your son. Can you give us a little bit more about who Ethan was? And how beautiful of a child he was to you guys.
Um, from the very beginning, Ethan was just full of life. He loved dancing, he loved singing, he loved sports. He was a quarterback. Um, he loved family. He was a big brother. Recently, he was an uncle, but he was a caregiver. Like he loved helping people out. He was always cutting the neighbor's yard. He was always, helping his little brothers. Um, He was a smart kid in school too. He was, all his classes were AP classes, GT since third grade. The teachers loved him. I had such an outpour of messages from teachers and, from the different schools that he went to that, it was just a shock. It was a shock to everybody. But my baby was just so loving. He he had a TikTok where he got a lot of like questions about how he does his hair. Like he was known for like his, I guess they call it Edgar. I don't like to call it Edgar because I feel like that haircut gets such a bad rep, and when everything happened, it was just so much negativity because of the hairstyle that he had when that didn't define him. Like he had great hair. I don't know where he got it from because he didn't get it from me, but he had great hair. He loved styling it. Like he was always on point with his haircuts. It was very expensive because the kid didn't work, so mama was paying for it. But um he always like helped everybody out, like how to get the hair the way he gets it. Or he had even at school, like he hated bullies. And for him to be um taken out by bullies, like I feel like that's just something that I need to like really speak more about, because the narrative of like how he passed, like everybody, they're not focusing on what really happened. But I there's this one little kid that he just like brings me so much um joy when he talks to me about Ethan, because Ethan protected him in school. And because he was so small, like he was tiny compared to Ethan. Like Ethan's so tall and he was probably like right here, but every time kids were trying to pick on him, Ethan was right there to defend him. So he was always a protector, a leader, um, somebody that everybody looked up to, honestly.
Now, for those that don't know, the story of Ethan, how old was he when he was unfortunately taken?
So we had just celebrated his 15th birthday 13 days prior. He was taken on December 30th, 2023, 13 days after his 15th birthday.
Now, as a mother grieving, I did read the story when it first happened, and I myself have a preteen, and he's now into, like you said, I hate to call it the Edgar haircut, but I think it's now like a trend, obviously, and to have seen some of the comments that were going around during this time was heartbreaking to see as a mother because a haircut, like you said, doesn't define a child. And he was a child, he was a teenager. Um,
Hmm.
so how did you and your family manage having to go through that situation and then reading all these ugly, hateful things that were said because of the situation and how it unfolded.
I honestly had to take a step back because I'm one that when I see a video, I jump right to the comments, and I'm reading everything that everybody has to say. But when it's you that they're talking about, like you really have to guard your peace because that really, I'm sorry, that really took a toll on on me as a person, as a mom, as the one, who just lost their child, for them to like say all those things, like I really just had to not read them because I got so angry. At one point, when this all happened, my Instagram was public. And when I made that first video of him, it did get like a lot of attention. And um, a lot of the comments were actually coming from the ones responsible and like all of their, friends or whatever. And I had to just for a while I was just screenshotting everything, screenshotting because this like social media is gotten so bad, in some cases, but we honestly had to just guard our peace and not read into it too much because at the end of the day we know who my child was. They know, my sister knows who her nephew was, my mom her grandchild. Like we know who he was, we knew the type of person he was, and everything that they were saying was false, and it wasn't who he was. So I had to stop myself and just let God take care of it. At the end of the day, those people that comment those ugly things, they're the ones that have to live with themselves. And so I know what kind of son I raised, and the way they were portraying him to be was not at all who he was.
Now, I think that's one of the hardest things. Now, I also know that you have other children. How have you been able to move forward and still be there for them while grieving yourself?
Um, I mean, everybody says like you're so strong. I don't know how you do it. I mean, I honestly don't have a choice. I mean, I'm a single mom. I left his dad a year before this happened, so I've been on my own for 2 years, and like the bills still have to get paid. I still have to go to work. I still have to get up, get them dressed, get them fed, get them, bathed. I still have to do homework. I still have to do all this. So in times I feel like uh, I just put my grief aside. Like I really haven't grieved my son. We've just moved forward. We're trying to push forward, Um, my other kids are really who's saving me right now. Like if Ethan was my only baby, I'd honestly be with him right now.
And obviously that's a very raw emotion to feel. For anybody else that's finding themselves in the same situation, whether it was losing a child or losing a spouse or losing a loved one, in those darkest times, what is the one thing that helps you push through and get out of bed?
My other loved ones, like I would never want my babies to cry for me. Like I'm the only one that will love them the way I love them. Like I'm the only one that will do everything for them the way I do. So like they are the one, like you always have someone who loves you. There's always someone here rooting for you. There's always someone here that you can talk to. Um I've gotten, stronger with my faith and with God. At first I was super angry, but like he really has shown me that we can move forward with this grief. It's just a void that we have to learn to live with to keep going. And, I'm a new grandma. My oldest son had my grandbaby. So now I have my granddaughter who's one, almost, well, 1.5. She turned 1 in August. So like they are the ones that keep me pushing, having a support system. having people that you can talk to. I know a lot of people say like they don't understand, like nobody understands what you're going through unless you've gone through it. And unfortunately, my mom and my sister have gone through it. Like I lost one of my sisters 3 years ago, so my mom knows the grief of child loss. My younger sister lost her 6-month-old to SIDS, so she knows child loss. So it's unfortunate that we share this grief, but in a sense, they know what I'm dealing with. Although grief of a child that's murdered is a completely different situation. So there are times when I feel alone, but um, my babies get me through it.
Now, of course, this is still an open investigation, so there's only a few things that we can touch on. But from Ethan's case, what is one thing that you would want to share with everybody that's able to listen in that can either help your case or, something that you would want people to help in his case to understand?
There's a lot of kids that know what happened. Majority of them go to Stevens High School, and a lot of them are scared to talk. Um, because of the group of kids that did this to my son. Um, and I've spoken on it on my TikTok because it needs to be said, like these kids are bullying other kids at school. Like you can report these kids anonymously. You can call Crime Stoppers and report an anonymous tip to them. There is a $10,000 reward for anybody that comes forward and with the information provided, if there's an arrest, like you will be granted that money. I just want to urge those kids to not be afraid because this can happen to anybody else. Like a lot of these kids out here that are running the streets, they're ruthless. Like they don't care who gets in their way. They don't care who they're killing. So like think of it as if it was your brother, your cousin, your dad, somebody that you loved dearly. Like wouldn't you want to put these kids they need to be responsible for what they did. Um, don't trust everybody because you don't know at the end of the day what their plan is. My son thought he was going outside to meet a female. So for all these boys who think that they can trust these girls, like don't, like these girls are just as evil sometimes as these boys. Um, he thought he was messaging a female, goes outside and turns out to be two cars full of his bullies from school. I had already pulled him out of that school because of all the problems he was having with those group of kids and put him in a different district, but they still managed to get their hands on him.
I just want to take the time to, as a mom, say I'm so sorry because I also feel like bullying has been something that has been around for a long time. Unfortunately, we live in a world that is ugly in that sense. But like you said, I feel like nowadays our children, our teenagers are running around and they're not thinking of consequences. They're not thinking how their actions can affect people around them. And it's a sad thing to see as we get older because they don't understand that their actions have severe consequences and they think it's cool. They think it's like, oh, look at what I did, look at what I got away with. And it's like that is something that's gonna haunt you for the rest of your life. And it's like the pain, the suffering that you're causing somebody else. Let's just say you are responsible for taking somebody's life, but just that act of bullying somebody else can really affect that person in the long term. And
Yeah.
you speaking about that, I think is very important. I think a lot of us parents have a very important job to speak to our kids because even though as parents we do our best to teach our kids to be there for our kids, sometimes our kids have their mind of their own and they develop their own characteristics and they do what they want sometimes. And I think like you said, Ethan, even though he might have looked a certain way, that doesn't mean that that was his characteristic. That doesn't mean that
Yeah.
he deserved any of the things that happened to him. So as a mom, I want to send you a big hug and a very big thank you for speaking out about this because I think a lot of parents need to realize that we need to sit down with our kids. We need to make sure that we're present, that we talk to them about their actions, talk about, bullying, how that affects people, not only the person that's doing it, but the person that's receiving the bullying as well.
Yeah.
You did say that you had taken Ethan out of school. Now, can you talk a little bit about what the situations were with the bullying, how you tried as a parent to, you know, take Ethan out of those situations?
Yeah, I started realizing that it was affecting his grades, with him being, AB honor roll in like AP classes, GT, when I started seeing it affect his grades and then him not wanting to go to school so much. That's when I was like, what's going on? Like, and he really never wanted to worry me, but like I can sense it, like I knew something was bothering him. And then when I started asking, like, well, what's going on? Like, if you don't want to go to school, like, let's go to the school. I need to figure out like what's going on. And then, even then he was like, no, mom, it's okay. Like, I'll go to school. Like, he never wanted to like tell me, what it was. And then one day I had to pick him up midday. He called me and he was like, they're trying to jump me. And later, I saw the video that one of his friends gave me, and they had him cornered in a restroom, about 15 of them. And they have him cornered in the restroom. You can see it clearly on the video. And they're trying to jump him. And he's saying, like, y'all are not going to jump me. Like, I'm not dumb. Like, I'll fight y'all one on one, but y'all are not jumping me. And so that day, he was able to get out of the restroom because one of the janitors came in. So he was able to escape that and walk off campus. They followed him off campus, but he was able to like go through the alleys and make it to his really good friend's house close by. So I picked him up from there, and I think that was on a Thursday. He missed Friday and came Monday. I just went and I pulled him out, um, and put him in the Southwest District. He was finally like liking all the programs that the school offered. He was like, I feel like this is going to be a good school. He was like, I really, like this engineer program that they have. I want to get into that. And so he was starting to feel himself again. And then messaged this one female on Instagram, and that's when they came back for him.
And it's sad to hear that, he had so much anxiety from the bullying to the point that he didn't want to go to school. You saw it affect his grades, his character, and now having hope for himself moving into different district and then, this happening, unfortunately. As a mom, how was your initial reaction to everything that happened and how it unfolded? How did you, deal with all of this? Because obviously there was an incident where you had to pull him out. So it's like you did everything in your power to make sure that you protected your baby, and then this still unfolded.
As a mom, like you just feel like you failed your child. Like I tried to keep him safe and I tried to move him districts and we're in a different neighborhood and still, like I still couldn't do everything to save him. And it kills me. it kills me inside. Like it brings me so much guilt. Like I feel like and I told him this I spend my Sundays with him after church and I talk to him all the time and I'm just like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I couldn't save you, baby. But like it's hard. It's hard. Like you do everything in your power to try and move them around or get them in a different environment. Like I was taking him to church. He was getting involved in church. Like and it sometimes is just never enough when you're dealing with the enemy. Like they still got a hold of him.
Um, I'm so sorry that that is the outcome of this, but you as a parent now and having gone through all of that, what do you feel needs to be done in our school systems, us as parents, to make sure that this doesn't happen to somebody else's baby?
I feel like the schools need to do better. Um, all of the instances that he had at school, none of them were recognized by the teachers. Like, none of them, the teachers never saw any of that happening. And when I went to the school district, they were like unaware of the situation. These kids are bringing weapons onto the school and like going through the hallways with these guns and flashing them around and posting them on social media. Like the schools need to be better about having more eyes in the hallways, more eyes in the restrooms, like where this all happens. Um, better security at the door, like even after the fact with everything that happened with Ethan, because a lot of his friends still message me. They're like, these kids don't even go here and they're sitting in our classroom. Like the teachers need to be more aware. I feel like some of the teachers are scared too of these kids and it's horrible. Like I feel for the teachers, but I feel like they're harming our children by allowing this to happen. Like if you know this kid is not supposed to be in your class, so why are you allowing them to sit in your classroom? Like I feel like there just needs to be more security in our schools. Um, metal detectors if we need to at the door to protect our children. And just more awareness that bullying is still happening. It's still, it's still out there and it's getting worse, unfortunately, for our kids. I'm so scared for my 10-year-old who's starting middle school next year because that's when all of Ethan's problems started, middle school. So, unfortunately, this is what we're left with.
And I hope that as years go on, that we as a community can make sure that we fight for things like this for our school systems, because yes, it is scary. I feel like times are changing. Unfortunately, there's things that our kids are watching. There's things that our kids are, imitating because they're, watching videos, music, like all of that influences our kids. And, as a parent myself, my son started middle school, and our son has been always a good boy. Everybody that has met him always tells us how well-mannered, what a gentleman he is. And he started middle school this year. And the first week, we were called that he got into a fight, and Mom, it wasn't my fault. And they were picking on me. It was too, and it's sad because as a parent, like you said, you do everything you can to make sure that you report everything, but it's like, where is the teachers that are
Yeah.
supposed to be watching them in the hallways? Like, if, because I'm sure you hear conversations between the students while you're working. Why isn't these things being reported? And it's sad because that's unfortunately the reality of a lot of parents. So I hope that as a community, we can all come together and really fight for having those things put into our school systems. Now, as a parent, how have you been able to express, this to your younger kids? How do you talk to them about, bullying situations, about, the situation with Ethan? How have you been able to sit down with them and really help them understand and process the whole situation?
With my little ones, I feel like, I mean, everybody deals with grief differently, and unfortunately, I feel like they're dealing with it with anger. They've gotten very angry. Um, and they're like sweet boys. Like, so the difference that I've seen in them, it's shocking, but I'm like, I understand. Like when I lost my sister, like sibling loss is still a great loss. Like this is somebody that they looked up to. This is somebody that they were always hanging around. This is somebody that played football with them, that played their video games with them. And my youngest, Dominic, that was like his bud, man. They were always together. And if you look at baby pictures and different pictures of him and Ethan, like everybody will say they're twins, like 8 years apart. Like they're so much alike. And Dominic is the one that expresses his feelings a lot more about it, and he'll have random, outbursts where he'll just start crying, or he'll wake up from a dream because he dreamt about Ethan and then wakes up and realizes it was just a dream. So, like, ha trying to stay strong and let them know that brother's still here, brother's in their heart, like he's with them every day, and then letting them know about, situations because with my Jackson, he's 10, he's the one that's gonna be in middle school next year. Recently, he had a fight, and it was him picking on the new kid. And so I got really emotional with him because I was like, baby, And I sat there in front of the principal and I cried with him and her because I was like, you know exactly how I feel about bullies. I was like, this was this, and he was just upset because the new kid didn't want to tell him his name. And when they're that age, like it's dumb stuff like that that makes him mad because he was like, well, he told my friends his name, but he wouldn't tell me his name. And I'm like, he was a new kid, honey. Like, you don't know what his situation was, where he was coming from, why he had to be in this new school. Like, you never know what somebody's going through. Like, you have to be like, okay, step back. He wants to talk to my friends, not me. Okay, it's not that big of a deal. But he let anger get the best of him, and they got into a little shove, like they shoved each other. And I had to sit there and talk to him and tell him, like, you know, I don't agree with bullying. I said, and you're gonna have to go to school and you're gonna have to apologize to this kid and you're gonna have to sit down and talk to him, and and work things out because that's not who we are. So it's hard, like having them deal with grief and trying to understand the emotions that they're going through because they're so young. Like they don't really understand why. Like, why was brother shot? Like, why did they do this to him? Like, what did he do to them? Like, it's hard. It's really hard. But I stand my ground when I say that we're not going to tolerate bullying, and they know exactly how mama feels about that. So I think in time they'll really be able to understand once they're a little older, but dealing having them deal with their emotions, like I let them express how they feel when they feel it. And I don't I don't get angry with them when they, have a lash out because I understand, like I really understand what they're going through. So we just talk. We talk through our feelings and we, express how we're feeling and why we're feeling it.
I think that's very important that you give them a safe space to express their feelings because, yeah, at that age, we're used to suppressing those feelings or not talking to our parents because we think it's not cool. Like, and, as a mom myself, with nothing but boys, like I always tell my boys, like, it's okay to cry, it's okay to feel angry, it's okay to feel upset if something isn't going your way, but you need to use your words so that I understand you and you feel better about it. And so I think you as a mom are doing an amazing job with giving them that space of feeling vulnerable and telling you exactly how they feel, whether that's sad, happy, angry. I think that's amazing that you give them that. As you have just celebrated the 1 year anniversary of Ethan's passing. How has time moved on for you? Like, as the world moves on, how does that feel for you? Because this is still an open case.
I feel like I feel like I'm standing still. I feel like I'm stuck in the hospital room, like hearing those words where there's nothing else we can do and just everything's moving around me. Going forward, we take it day by day, we take it holiday by holiday. This year was all of our first without him. New Year's was our second because it happened two days before New Year's, but we I don't even know how we get through it, but we do, I guess, as a family. Just being together. His one, his first heavenly birthday. Like I should have been planning a party for him instead of making memorial shirts and doing a balloon release. Like it's just unfair. It's just unfair, and I'm just still so angry about it.
And I think those are very natural emotions because we still haven't seen justice for him. Now, as time goes on, what is your hope in making sure that Ethan gets justice? And what would you want the community to know in the respects of the situation that happened?
I mean, I'm gonna do whatever it takes. Like I call the detective and text him on a weekly basis. I know that with time, um, we will get the justice we deserve or he deserves. Because kids are dumb, they post everything on social media, so one of them's gonna slip up one day, and he- I just want the community to be aware that, these things are happening around us, and I want parents to be more involved with their kids, like random phone checks, like. One of the kids was like, the one of the kids that was posting a lot of ugly things about Ethan. Um, I had heard that he had got in trouble in school and he started crying at school because his parents were going to find out. So some of them are still afraid of their parents. Like they're still afraid to get in trouble with mom and dad. So I feel like parents just need to be more involved and they need to be, going through their kids, social medias, like the it's crazy, like the features that social media has where you can put it on vanish mode and not see anything that's being posted. So that's like that sucks. But I just want parents to be more involved in their kids' life and be more open with them. I feel like a lot of these kids that are running the street, they really don't have family that loves them. And that just makes them so angry inside and it makes them do ugly things. And for them to not care and then like post about it afterwards. They were posting before I even posted. They were posting before the social media even posted. And just making fun of the situation and the stupid pictures that they were posting and like it's so disrespectful. I just wish that the parents would open their eyes and be more aware and involved in these kids' lives.
I hope that, this helps anybody that's either going through the situation or just, if they're tuning in and they're, just curious about your story, that it causes them to kind of react and, be like, even though I know myself and as a parent and my kid, Yeah, just a random check because yeah, sometimes we don't know what's going on, and sometimes I feel like what people don't understand too is kids tend to follow. If they see somebody else bullying somebody, they might think like, "Oh, that's cool, like it's not a big deal," and they join
Yeah.
into it, and it causes this snowball effect. And it's like if we as parents can be more connected and more involved, we can nip that in the butt before it causes any other bigger damage. So I think that's a wonderful advice that you're giving. Now, as somebody that's going through this horrible situation, sadly, a lot of moms, a lot of parents here in San Antonio are and all over are dealing with situations like this. What advice do you give those parents in the times of, where they feel angry or they feel like justice isn't met? Is there anything that you would want to tell them?
Um, just that they're not alone. Like, unfortunately, there's a community of us parents dealing with the same thing, and you know, you can find support. You can find support with the Parents of Murdered Children little group that we have. There's support on, Facebook. I was fortunate enough because the moms of murdered children actually came to my benefit plate sale and showed me that they were there for me. So I had them to lean on this whole past year. But I just want them to know that with patience, justice will be served. I keep that faith because I know I have God on my side and He will, serve the justice that's needed. But I see cases being solved, 3, 4, 5 years later. So just to not give up hope and just have patience, unfortunately, and know that you have a support system.
I think that's beautiful. Now, as a community, as a whole, what would you want us to do to keep Ethan's name, alive and present in the community? Like, what can we do as a community to help you and to help others in the same situation?
Um, just to always think, think about him, speak about him, post about him. I constantly post about him. I have his Facebook page, Justice for Ethan. I always encourage his friends to always, post videos that they have of him to keep his memory alive. I'm always gonna be talking about my son. I talk to him on a daily basis. I speak to him like he's here in the room with me. Brothers are always talking about him. Um, but just to be a better, like if I was to be speaking to the community, just to be a better person, to love like Ethan would, because Ethan was a very loving person. Ethan would have never done what these kids did to him to anybody. He, loved animals. He was a caring person. So just be kind. Like it doesn't hurt to be kind. It doesn't hurt to be a friend. Even to the loners, like the kids who don't have friends and are, having a hard day, just be nice to them. Just be a nice person. It doesn't cost anything to be nice.
I totally agree with that. It literally takes zero out of you to just spread a little bit of kindness. Now, as we wrap up everything, is there any way that, like you said, it is an open case? Now, if anybody's listening or if there's a parent listening that has a child in Stevens that knows anything or their kids might know anything, where can they go to give their information to help solve this case?
Um, so they can contact Crime Stoppers. They can give it anonymously. Like I mentioned, they don't have to give any names. They don't have to say who they are. But they can call Crime Stoppers with the anonymous hint that they have anything helps, any names that they have, anything that they saw, anything that they heard, anything that was posted, like anything helps. Um, if they don't want to call Crime Stoppers, they can always call, the detectives. And I'm so sorry, I don't have everything here with me. But if you go down to the detective, the headquarters, you can give your Evan or whatever you have in person if you'd like. I appreciate anything that's given. I've had so many of Ethan's friends reach out. We've gotten so much to be able to build a case and to keep it going. So anything would help. And I encourage anybody that knows something because I know a lot of them do.
That I'll have everything down also in the description so that people can tune in and give their information if they need to or if they know anybody or just to share Ethan's story. For a parent that's going through the same situation as you, or they find themselves going through a bully situation where they feel like they're doing everything in their power to protect their child, and they want to connect with you, where can they connect with you?
Here on Instagram, you can message me here. You can find my son's page, Justice for Ethan, on Facebook. I also have a TikTok. Anywhere, like I have an open connection. I check my messages frequently, so I don't mind anybody that needs somebody to talk to.
That's beautiful. And again, as a mother, I'm so sorry for your loss. And I think that you finding the courage to stick up for him and speak about him every day and make sure that he gets justice it's a beautiful thing to see. And I hope that our community can come together to help you find that justice. I also want to thank you for, giving me the space to, share his story and to help you reach as many more people so that, we can find who's responsible and help them, solve this case. I know must not be easy to talk about it. I know that like you said, it's hard to push through, but you just finding that strength to share his story and share your story on how you guys as a family are, grieving, I think that in itself is powerful and it will help others. So I wanted to, like I said, say thank you so much.
Of course, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about my baby.
Of course. Now I will have everything down below for you guys so that you guys can tune in. If you guys have any information, if you just want to connect with Stephanie, if you want to just, see Ethan's page and see what a beautiful baby he was. I'll have that all linked down below. And again, thank you guys for tuning in. I know this isn't like a normal episode that we do, but I definitely thought it was necessary to share because as a community in San Antonio, we need to do better.
Right.